Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host. If you've been following the show for the last few weeks, we've had more businessy topics for a couple weeks, and I'm excited to break up that flow with a more inspiring, uplifting, life-focused podcast episode today. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. I have Ebony S with me. Ebony is a powerhouse in motivational speaking, women empowerment, and self-confidence. She is the CEO and founder of Enchanted Reflections Modeling Studio, the host of Bosswife.live Podcast, a motivational speaker, and a certified life coach. On all platforms, Ebony is continuously teaching and inspiring others on self-care, self-love, and self-confidence, giving tips and fundamental tools on improving your self-worth while being a wife and a mother of 4. She still finds time to volunteer at local organizations that focus on helping others to be their best self in all aspects of their life. Ebony's life mission is to help others discover their passion for a successful life while evaluating their most cherished desires. Welcome to the show, Ebony.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. That was awesome.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your journey of entrepreneurship, because I know this is a Tactical Magic podcast. It's a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur, we call it. But I just like to know, because most people have a very meandering path to becoming a business owner or a coach of some kind. What's that journey been like for you?
That journey has not been easy, let me tell you. But it's one that I will not exchange for anything else. As a child, my passion was modeling, and so I kind of took that passion into raising my kids. You know, once I noticed that was something they kind of were interested in as well, I definitely fed into that because I was really excited about it. So my kids model and act, and so at a point in time in my journey, we were going up and down because I live in Chattanooga, so we're right up the street from Atlanta. And so we were going back and forth. And so it dawned on me, you know, like there are a lot of things that we didn't have here in the city. So I was like, you know what, it's always been my passion. I've been in this industry for years. And that is kind of how I got started on my journey as owning my own modeling studio. Now, as far as my life coaching and inspiring others, that came from a deeper place because I didn't have that as a person. I got married very young. We got married at 19, started having kids right away. Wow. And so I completely lost myself completely. Like I had 4 kids within like 3 years of marriage. So it was crazy. I had no self-esteem. I didn't know who I was and like looking at myself. And as I began the journey of rebuilding me, I realized I wasn't the only one struggling with this journey. So I incorporated all of that in my modeling studio. So it's not only just about the industry, it's about building your character, building art if that's not who you want to be. So building confidence is definitely who I am because I know how important it is just to get up every morning, just to have the confidence to look at yourself in the mirror. But like I said, I wouldn't exchange my journey for anything because now I know, you know, there's nothing stopping me but me.
Wow, that's a powerful awareness. There's nothing stopping me but me. I love the idea of bringing that kind of clarity and like self-awareness and self-love into an industry like modeling, which is pretty notorious for cutting people down and doing comparison and competition. And
exactly.
What a different place to bring that kind of insight and like magic to. I love that. I just imagine that the kids you're raising and that whoever's coming to that modeling studio are having a totally different experience than you did when you went through it.
I remember going home crying at night, like leaving my modeling studio in Memphis and going home crying and like just in tears because of, you know, I was out of proportion, or my walk wasn't good enough, or, you know, I didn't hold my head up, you know, it was just, but everything was physical, you know? And so, yeah, definitely no, like my modeling studio is definitely not about what you look like, you know, it's definitely about who you want to be. And, you know, we have a motto and a mantra that we say during, right before every session, but it's pretty much I am who I want to be, and no one else can take my power. I'm not giving my authority to anyone else to control who I want to be. That's my authority, is my power, and I have the rights to that. Nobody else owns the rights to that. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what they say, in the beginning of every studio. But yeah, definitely, it's not the typical modeling studio that you would go to and get cut down because of, your height or your size or your weight. We eliminate all of that. You are amazing because of who you are. And I love that, you have the unicorn on your podcast, because I'm like, my daughter is so in love with unicorns, but it's about the magic that it brings and what it stands for. It's just being different and owning your differentness, because that's what we were created to do in the first place. So yeah, the kids love it. They're all into, we also do modeling, makeup, acting, theater, we do design, and then we also do etiquette classes, but we do etiquette for business, we do etiquette for eating, of course, but etiquette on how to wear what setting to wear your clothes and what setting to wear your clothes. Like and it gives the kids something other than sports, because a lot of kids think, oh, if I'm not good in sports, well, I have to be good in academics. Well, we have arts too, so we build on a lot of different things in the studio, but it's really amazing, and I really love it. And the kids, yeah, definitely love it as well.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think there are, different clothing companies and brands and a lot of people that are catching on to that movement, that there isn't one kind of beauty, that there's many kinds, and that's being more depicted through media more recently, I think is really powerful and exciting. So I want to take a second and just ask for some of your magic insight, because to the mother who has lost herself in being a mother, or to the girl who got married too young and isn't sure what she wants to be or do or have, or to the aspiring artist who is trying to believe that what they want to do is possible and actually worthwhile in the world. What are some of the places that people can start to look, or what are some of the questions they can start to ask themselves to start building that self-awareness, self-worth, and valuing themselves and who they really are?
The first place I started was acknowledging what I could control. I couldn't control my emotions at the point that I was at, because like I said, I just had 4 babies. My life was upside down. My husband was working 2 jobs, and it was just chaotic. So what I did was I focused on something that I could control. My babies I was a stay-at-home mom, and I knew I was smart. And I knew that I could achieve a goal, but I needed to put my mind to it, right? So I decided on one thing, and that was going back to school. And once I got, my kids, they didn't go to daycare. So I kept them. When we switched shifts or whatever, I would do a class here, a class there, until I could finish school. And then by that time, they were all in school. But that was where I started. I started on what I could control. And that would be definitely what I would tell, that woman, that whatever place you're in, we all have something that we can control. That's what you take hold to first. After that, you start chipping away at that iceberg, because it's huge, and we feel like it's huge, and it's really not, but to us it is, right? So you start chipping away at that iceberg, and then you figure out something else I can control. The last thing that I attempted to do was look at myself and address myself as who I was. I did not look in the mirror. Yes, I got up, put on clothes, I did makeup, I did my hair, but I didn't see me, right? I saw somebody that I had to dress up to go out in the world. That was the last thing that I attempted to do. And in that process and building, and in the process of taking control of the small things, I was able to take control of Ebony. And that was even hard. I never addressed myself by my name, because I think the biggest part of losing yourself and not knowing who you are or what you want to do or what you want to be is acknowledging who you already are in the moment that you're in. And once you take control of that moment, you can control the rest of those moments. I didn't appreciate Ebony. So I took Ebony for advantage, right? I took advantage of my worth. I took advantage of how I looked. I had 4 kids, and I had grown outward instead of upward, and I went from a size 6 to a 16, right? Because I was modeling when we got married, and he was like, "No, I don't want my wife modeling," but we were 19, of course. But I went through a lot, so I not only lost my identity physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. But like I said, I started taking control of the small things. Nobody could take my education away from me. Nobody could take away me being a great mother. Nobody could take away how I feel. And for me, how I feel about others helped me to realize I needed to feel the same way about me. And I know a lot of times we say, oh, I can't, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. But for me, it was a lot easier for me to love somebody else because I could see the greatness in them. I could see the motivation in them. I could see the potential in them. And that's what makes me a great confidence coach, right? But for me, it was harder to love me because I didn't like who I had allowed myself to become. Mm-hmm. And that was the biggest thing. And that was the last thing that I tried to take control of.
That's powerful. I think giving yourself permission to see yourself and address yourself and acknowledge yourself is such a simple but powerful step to focus on, is how am I even seeing me, and how could that be different? And what are some little daily practices of looking myself in the mirror and addressing myself every morning to just begin that dialogue? Because if you're looking at everyone else in the world as having value of some kind and being innately good enough, why on earth would we not give that to ourselves?
And like I said, sometimes that is the hardest thing to do. And that's the last thing that we can do. But when you start realizing your worth and you start realizing that you're motivated about something, then you can become motivated about you as well. You can put that same energy back into that and back into you. So yeah, it's not, and a lot of time we give so much power of our power. We give it to other people and we give it to circumstances, not even just people. We allow a circumstance to take our power, and it's not fair, and you're allowing yourself to become dimmer, you don't have to become, and I'll give an example. I work in a doctor's office as well, so I still work a 9 to 5. I had a physician come to me and ask me, not in so many words, but he was like, can you dumb yourself down? And so many times we do that automatically because of a circumstance or a situation, or, we don't feel like we're worthy of something, or we don't feel like we're important enough. The imposter syndrome kicks in, but we don't realize that the situation, nothing lasts forever, right? No situation lasts forever, no circumstance lasts forever. We move through life just like life moves through us, right? So once we realize that you can take control of the smallest thing, just like you can take control of the biggest thing. For me, that was the last thing that I did, but it was because of my circumstance. And I didn't realize I was giving my circumstance all of the power that I had, and it wasn't worth it. The scars, the emotional scars that we bring through all of that stuff isn't worth it. If I can go back and redo half of my life, I would. But just because of the emotional baggage, right? Just because of the emotional scars. Because just because we move from that place doesn't mean we forget where we were. It doesn't mean that we forget how we felt in that place either. So, and a lot of times those thoughts continue to come back and they continue to come back. But once you start, like I said, taking control of your mental capacity as well, you will start owning how you feel about things. You'll start owning, no, I'm not going to let that invade me. I'm not going to take that ownership back. I reject it. I refuse it. Like you said, our magic, you can't allow your magic to be dimmed, Mm-hmm. So yes, it's definitely important to realize you're just as worth more, if not more, than what you're giving to that circumstance.
Yeah, definitely. And whether it's a physician or a doctor that you work with, or whether it's any fucking person in your life, no, we will not dim our shine for anyone. Thank you.
No, right.
The answer is no.
Right. No, you can't take away my education. Right. I'm not giving you that. No, yeah. Definitely stand up for that. Nobody has the power to take anything from you, first of all. But nobody should actually feel like they have the right to ask you to do that either. And don't allow somebody to feel like they have the right to do that either.
Yeah. Whether that's a client, whether that's a boss, whether that's a partner. Nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or even a kid.
You don't
take that from your kids either.
Definitely not anything that you brought in this world. No. That's not happening.
Yeah, no. Tell us about Bosswife.live. What's the story of that?
It came after I birthed my business and I realized that I was a boss. So many times, even on, jobs and stuff, we try to achieve higher statuses on jobs and, oh, you're not qualified, or, oh, you don't have these qualifications, or, you haven't been doing this long enough, or whatever. In building my business, I realized that I was already a boss and I didn't know it. First of all, I had raised 4 children and birthed 4 children and raised and took on a whole household by the age of 20. I don't know why I allowed somebody to tell me that I wasn't a boss, right? So, because managing that alone, you can manage the White House probably better than what's been managed. But seriously, like, birthing Bosswife.live came through. It was first, about owning your business, being an entrepreneur, being a mompreneur, and wondering how to navigate through all of that at the same time. It's already hard being a mom. It's hard working a 9 to 5. It's hard being a wife, a mother, and working a 9 to 5, and then owning your own business as well is a whole nother world. So in building Bosswife.live, I realized that I had so many other qualities that I was allowing to lie dormant. And so I wanted to give my experiences back to my listeners, or even just gain listeners to help people realize that, you got this, you have power, you have magic. Let's share it with the world. If we can, first of all, give birth, we can do whatever else we want to do in this world, because that is one of the hardest things to do, right? Like, nobody else can do it but women. So guess what? The thing that you want to do, the thing that's already in you, nobody else can do it but you. And that's one of the things I love saying on my podcast. Like, if you don't do you, then you won't be done. So why are you allowing your inspirations and goals and whatever else you have in you to lie dormant because of something that somebody probably already said to you before, and you're just believing it? Like, we listen to those smallest whispers and we allow it to control who we want to be in life. And so that's what Bosswife.live is about, is not allowing those whispers to invade your privacy. Reject them, do whatever you got to do, but be you and be great at what you do. So that's what Bosswife.live is about. And, I have so much fun doing my podcast. I missed a couple of episodes a few weeks ago, and I was like, I felt so bad, because I was like, I've been so on it. I'm very consistent, and I pride myself on being consistent. So I was like, oh my God, I missed 2 weeks, and I usually post every other week. And we had so many things that happen in my family, in my immediate family. So I couldn't post that week, but it's so endearing to me just to be able to reach people that I can't see, I can't talk to, but just to allow them to have my voice for motivation for whatever they're going through, whether it's owning your own business or raising your family, or, if you're married, you're single or whatever. Like, I kind of hit on a lot of topics, I try to stay in one little niche. But it's so hard because I kind of go off of what I feel or what I'm being led to talk about at that current moment. So, but it's definitely my baby and I love it. So it's definitely brought a lot of awareness to me as well.
And I mean, you've been rattling off the many different responsibilities that you have in the world, missing a week or two of your podcast. The show will go on. My first year of my podcast, I had to take a pause. I had just bought my van, which is my house. I was building my house and traveling in it full time and learning how to run my business on the road for the first time. And I had to pause my podcast and give it like a 4 or 5 month break because I just couldn't do it in addition to all the other things I was managing. And it was actually a listener who asked me out to lunch when I was in Arizona and told me she really wanted to know when I was starting the show back up, like when was season 2 going to start? It hadn't even occurred to me that I had ended season 1 and she wanted season 2. And I was like, okay, if one person is listening and it matters that much to her, she wanted to take me out to lunch as a fangirl. Okay, fine. I'll go back on the air. But missing a week or two, it's not the end of the world. The show goes on, and, the gap is maybe the time you need to reset. It also might be the time that person needed to pause and reflect on whatever they've heard already. I love it. I also want to go back to those whispers that you mentioned that can keep us stuck or keep us from doing something. I was just having this conversation with a client this week where that voice that says, who am I to do this? And my response to that is, if you're being called to do this, who are you not to do this? And it's the same, I think, as that message of Bosswife.live. It's like, if this is in you, that's enough to go on. That's enough to know that you will never feel fulfilled until you express that thing that's coming through you, until you build it or write it or speak it or do it. And so that's literally enough to give you permission to go out and do that thing or create that thing or make that impact in the world.
Right. I love that you said permission. We want permission so much from so many other things and other people that we don't give permission to ourselves a lot of times. And that's definitely a big part of building confidence. You have to give yourself permission to live. I mean, that's all it is to it. We give ourselves permission to be depressed, right? We give ourselves permission to be upset and angry and to get out of character, but we don't give ourselves permission to live and enjoy life and, explore. Like, and it's just crazy. It's crazy that we allow ourselves to be stuck in those moments for so long until we come to a realization of it. But definitely, I love that word, permission. Yes, you're so absolutely right. Like, we have to give ourselves permission to live.
Yeah, definitely. And to create too, which is entwined with living for most of us.
Yes, right. Yeah. Definitely for me too, because that's a big part of who I am, is creation. I love creating new things, different things all the time. So I think that's one of my biggest struggles too. Like, I create too much. Like, I need to stop.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I have all these programs I could run again, or I could make a whole new program.
Right. It's like, okay,
I'm not going to do that this year, and then I do it again.
Yeah. That's awesome. But that's great, right? That's a great tool to have. It is. And we give ourselves permission to be creative. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I think witnessing that someone doing that is inspiration to other people too. For a while, I was like, oh, I shouldn't talk about the next thing I'm making, or I shouldn't post about that or share about that. But really, I've had enough feedback over the years that people are inspired by watching creation happen. And I love that you use that term, birthing this thing into the world, birthing the business into the world, birthing that, modeling studio into the world, because it's an act. There's a gestation period, and then there's like a release, and then there's like the nurturing and the raising of the thing, whatever the thing is.
Right. It is definitely. And you'll appreciate yourself so much more once you allow yourself to do that. So just like, we give ourselves credit for being a mother, and that's a big job, so give yourself credit for birthing your job, your business, or your coaching, or whatever you're doing. Just getting up, going to your 9 to 5, because that's hard in itself. Working for other people. Yeah, that's definitely hard in itself. But definitely, you definitely have to allow yourself to enjoy those moments.
Definitely. Yeah. So you've got a lot of different amazing things going. What are you most excited about? What's coming up for you?
I have a women's conference coming up in April 2nd, and it's my first. So I'm really extremely nervous, but excited at the same time. I've always been a part of somebody else's. I've never had my own. So I'm really excited about that. But mostly I'm excited about my fashion show that the studio has coming up at the end of May. So that's always exciting. We do like different themes every fashion show, and the kids make every single thing that hits the runway. So everything that they're wearing on the runway, we've created. So and it's always amazing. Wow. But so those are the 2 things that I have coming up at the moment. Everything else is kind of like on the brinks of stuff, So I'm trying to stay focused. It's very hard to stay focused on just one thing, like we just said, when you have so many things going on. Yeah. But I feel like I overwhelm myself sometimes for no reason at all. Yeah. So I'm just trying to take things one step at a time. Like I said, take my own device, one little chip at a time of that iceberg. But those are the 2 things that I have coming up that are very close.
Tell us more about the women's conference. Who's that for? How's it going?
The women's conference will be here locally in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it's 4 women on the panel, 4 women on the panel altogether, but from all different walks of life, and it's definitely about building confidence. And the name of it is her spoken truth, and it's not about fear, and it's not about what you've gone through. It's about where you are right now and how you're going to get to that next place. Because when you think about somebody's spoken truth, like to me, if I heard that, I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to go cry. We're going to go feel sorry for ourselves. And it's totally the opposite. It's like, no, we got this. We're going to speak the truth to ourselves and who we really are and who we really want to be and who we're really trying to create, And so that's what we're going to achieve. And so that's what my conference is about. It's definitely about motivating women in all areas of life. It's been a mother, a woman, a business owner, how you feel about yourself physically, how you feel about yourself spiritually, emotionally. All of that will be touched on. We'll have food, live music. So I'm really excited. I'm trying to keep it really simple, and because I know me, I will go way overboard and extravagant. So I'm trying to keep it really simple because I want to focus on what the focus is on, and that's us, and that's building us and becoming better and becoming one with each other. So because my fashion show will definitely be extravagant, so I'm trying to keep it simple, and focus on what we need to focus on. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And like what a big project to undertake. But I just feel like I want to acknowledge like the power of creation that you hold. Like you just said, I love creating stuff, but like, wow, look at you go making conferences.
Right.
And I want to say that to anyone out there who's listening, and to myself included, because I've wanted to lead a bigger event or lead more retreats sometime in the future, that you're the only thing standing in your way. You said that earlier, that event that you wish was happening, that meetup that you'd like to go to, you can be the maker of that space. I was really wanting a like new moon or full moon women's circle happening in my life a few years ago, like 5 years ago or something. And I was like, shoot, if I want that so bad, I'm able to make it. I'm just going to make that group and then have people come to it. And yeah, so this just feels like a really powerful reminder to anyone out there who's like, I wish I had this thing in my life. Maybe that thing is tapping you on the shoulder because you're the one that's going to create it. And don't be afraid to do something big and scary. And also, I mean, you're a boss woman and like makes shit happen. I imagine you're also asking for support, I'm hoping, and having other people help to collaborate and like having other people help to fill the event or organize things. And that's a really powerful move to get good at too, is what can I lean into? What kind of support can I request? Where am I unwilling or willing to get help right now?
It is. And that's been one of my biggest struggles.
Yeah.
If I can be honest, like it has, because it's like Chattanooga is a very small city. And so it's kind of hard breaking into the different doors here. And so the thing that I told myself this year was I'm tired of sitting at other people's tables. So I'm going to make my own table. So awesome. That's what I'm doing. But yes, definitely. I have been leaning into the community a little bit more and asking for support and asking, different women to help and bring in other people. And so it's definitely a learning curve, and it's something that I've never done before. Other than you would think I've done that for my fashion shows, but I haven't. It's totally different. It's a different experience altogether. So, but yes, it's definitely unique in itself.
Fantastic. I love that. So I imagine people are listening and probably thinking, gosh, I want some of what she's having. And I think this would be a great person to work with. What are the best places for people to tune in and follow you or get more information?
You can definitely find me on every listening platform there is, especially for my podcast, Bosswife.live. And then I also have a website where you can go and find my podcast and my coaching and all of that under one umbrella. And that is Purposeful Thinking 360.
Great. And 360 is 360, the numbers.
Yep. 360, awesome. Full turn. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, but definitely my website, and then I have a page on Facebook as well for Purposeful Thinking. So
Purposeful Thinking. What's your Instagram handle, just in case anybody wants to go and pop on there real quick?
It's ebony.more.547.
Okay, great. So everybody open up Instagram and go find ebony.more.547. Is that what you said? 547? Yep. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I am so grateful. Thank you everyone out there for listening to this episode today. I hope that it inspired you. And Ebony, I'm so grateful that I got to have you on the show. I think you are pure magic and just like so excited for all that you're creating and bringing out into the world. You are amazing.
Yeah, this was all my honor. Trust me, I loved it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Before we sign off, are there any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
Nope. Just my favorite motto. If you don't do you, then you won't be done.
I love that one. It's very inspiring. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. We will catch you next week for another episode of Tactical Magic. Have a wonderful day.